Every single day, you swipe deodorant over your armpits. But did anyone ever tell you that what you're applying might be a known endocrine disruptor? PFAS, forever chemicals, were just found in 40% of deodorants tested in an EPA-certified lab. And these chemicals are linked to cancer, infertility, thyroid disruption, and they stay in your body for many years. In this episode of Heal Thyself, I review the study and tell you which deodorants to stay away from and which ones are safe. But here's one of my favorite quick tips to getting deodorant. Check the label, and if the label says fragrance without a full ingredient disclosure, toss it. Thank you for joining this episode of Heal Thyself. To support the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. It gives us the opportunity to really expand this knowledge to people who need it most, and you can do your part by just sharing the love. Again, thank you for listening. I'm forever grateful, and I love you all. Let's get started. You are listening to Heal Thyself, where science meets soul. I am Dr. Christian Gonzalez, and thank you for joining today's episode. And this episode today might change the way you look at one of the most basic parts of your daily routine, that is your deodorant. And that's the thing, you swipe it on, you slather it on every single morning, and you don't really think about it. But what if I told you that the swipe, that one swipe can deliver very specific chemicals, sometimes to the most sensitive parts of your body? And what if your deodorant is actually slow dosing your lymph nodes, your breast tissue, your bloodstream with chemicals that are never meant to be there, that actually accumulate over time? And in this episode of Heal Thyself, we go in. We're going to review what are the best and worst deodorants to be using in the context of PFAS. I'm going to introduce you to PFAS in this episode. If you don't know what they are, it's going to be quick. And we've known about PFAS. We know that they're in yoga pants and outdoor gear and moisture wicking materials and Teflon. But this study by Mamavation actually exposed them to be in one of the most unexpected places, deodorant. So in March 2025, Mamavation, in partnership with the Environmental Health News, released a consumer investigation that sent 25 deodorants to an EPA-certified lab. And their question was, are PFAS, forever chemicals, hiding in these popular deodorants that you could find in most stores? Their answer actually is yes. 40% of the deodorants sent out were tested positive for PFAS. And this is a problem. It's a problem. You want to make sure you're using good quality deodorant. And guess what? It's not always the conventional deodorants that you think. Some of the natural ones are problematic too. Yes, that includes natural deodorants. That includes the clean brands, the products that you may trust your partner may be using right now, who you may be using right now. And when we talk about PFAS, just a tiny amount can cause for concern. So today we are digging deep. What are PFAS? Why are they in deodorants? How are they measured? Which brands failed? What brands you can bring in to detox your body and protect you moving forward. I'm going to go over all of my Heal Thyself protocols for just detoxing PFAS in general. This is not about fear mongering. It's about you making an informed choice. Right? This is about protecting your nervous system, your endocrine system, your fertility, your immune system, your brain, your future. So we're going to start with the basics. PFAS stands for per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. So they're synthetic chemicals developed for their ability to repel water, heat, and oil. Think the nonstick pans of the world, right? The waterproof clothing, grease-proof packaging. But I'm going to tell you the catch. They don't break down. Not in the environment, not in the body. That's why they're called forever chemicals, because they stay in your tissues for years, even decades. And what's worse is this. Some forms of PFAS have half-lives of up to 8, 9, 10 years in humans. That means they stick around for a very long time. They accumulate, they interfere with your biology over time. They're connected to multiple diseases. So how did Mamavation test for these PFAS? So there are numerous types of PFAS, not just one chemical. And you don't test for just one type. You look out for something called organic fluorine, which is the broad spectrum marker of the presence of PFAS. You'll remember when I did the study on watches, the wristbands on the Apple watches, or all of these monitors that people wear, the health tracking devices, this was what was tested, organic fluorine. So in this lab, they go through the process and they measure these fluorine levels. And the method doesn't pinpoint the exact PFAS molecules, like if it's a PFOA or a Gen X PFA, but it's an industry standard red flag method. This is what's used by researchers, watchdog labs, especially ones who are doing a lot of these independent testings. That's what they're looking for. So any reading above 10 parts per million, 10 ppm, is considered notable. You want to be like, okay, this is a red flag. Some deodorants in this study actually went up to 103 parts per million, right? That ain't background noise. That's a full bullhorn, right? So why does PFAS in deodorant matter more? Well, when we talk about anatomy, you feel like you're not sleeping well, you're feeling more stressed than usual, or even noticing changes in your cravings, your skin, your energy. It could all come down to one essential mineral, and that's magnesium. Most of us aren't getting enough magnesium, and when we're deficient, it can throw everything out of sync, our hormones, metabolism, and even our stress levels. That is why I'm here to tell you about Magnesium Breakthrough from Bioptimizers. Adding Magnesium Breakthrough to your routine can support deeper sleep, better digestion, and stress management. Go to bioptimizers.com and use the code DRG for 10% off. That is bioptimizers.com/DRG. Let's talk about something that is crucial for our health, but often overlooked. It is hydration. And I'm not talking about just drinking water. I'm talking about getting electrolytes. Sometimes water doesn't even hydrate you, right? You need electrolytes. I love Element, and I especially love their brand new Element sparkling drink that I keep in my fridge. I use it after every sauna session. And what really sets Element apart is their science-based formula. They actually provide 2 to 3 times more sodium than the typical recommendation, plus the perfect balance of potassium and magnesium. And they do it without any sugar, any artificial ingredients, none of that nasty stuff, right? And they have their 16-ounce sparkling cans. And this is the on-the-go hydration. They have different flavors. You put it in the fridge, and when you need something cold to really hit, whoa, I'm telling you right now, you're gonna love it. Whether you're an athlete or just on a low-carb diet, or you want to avoid headaches, brain fog coming from electrolyte imbalance, Element is simple, it's easy to use, it's tasty. You get a free sample pack with any purchase at drinkelement.com/DRG. That is drinkelemente.com/DRG. The deodorant goes on the underarm. This is one of the most sensitive, absorptive areas in the body. It's right next to the breast tissue, next to the lymph nodes, the sweat glands, major vascular channels. This is like a hub. It's like LAX, right? Newark, JFK, Chicago O'Hare, it's the hub. And it's not like shampoo. You don't just rinse it off. Deodorant's actually going to stick on your skin for a while, 12, 18, sometimes 24 hours a day for decades. You see the picture I'm painting here. So if it's contaminated, your body's going to soak it up. But here's the kicker about this study. I mentioned before, a lot of these products, greenwashed, were labeled as clean, natural. They were flagged in the study. This means that it may be a manufacturing contamination issue, right? It may be ingredient driven or not, but you got to be on top of this stuff, especially if you're promoting yourself as non-toxic or healthy or whatever it is. So Dr. Linda Birnbaum, she's the former director of the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences. She said this best: because deodorants are applied every day to our bodies, it's imperative the deodorant industry finds this contamination and addresses it immediately. And that's in reference to these PFAS. So now that you know what PFAS are, how this study was structured, what they found in some of these deodorants, let's talk about the real impact here. Because these aren't just industry chemicals. These are hormone blockers, hormone hijackers, immune blockers. They cause inflammation. They suppress the immune system. They're actually potential cancer promoters too. And they're hiding inside something that most of us are applying every single day to our lymph nodes. That system throughout our whole body, that access our whole body. And when it backs up, it's like a backed up sewage system. So what do PFAS do in the body? Well, so let's walk through what PFAS exposure has been linked to. So based on human epidemiological studies and toxicology reviews, we're starting to get a better understanding about PFAS. We do know it causes immune system dysfunction, for sure. PFAS can blunt your immune system response. It can lower your body's ability to respond to infections and vaccines. We know that. It can cause endocrine disruption. Many PFAS interfere with your hormonal signaling. That goes for estrogen, that goes for testosterone, that goes for your thyroid. Really, really sensitive to PFAS exposure. Now, this can result in things like fatigue, metabolic disorders, even altered puberty timing in children. Something to pay attention to. I mean, I still don't understand why it's not like in the front page of every paper, but reproductive harm, big one. PFAS has been associated with lower sperm count and motility. It's been associated with menstrual irregularities, reduced fertility in both sexes, hormone imbalances in utero. Yes, it's been connected to cancer, increased risk for testicular kidney, and possibly breast cancer because it changes estrogen activity. We know it's connected to neurological and behavioral effects. In kids, PFAS exposures have been linked to hyperactivity, behavioral issues, developmental delays, metabolic disease. They've also been associated with other things like elevated cholesterol overall, obesity, insulin resistance, hypertension. Like, we're not talking about like a high dose occupational exposure here. We're talking about every single day, small exposures absorbed through the skin over time compounded. And these compounds don't just disappear. The most common PFAS, like PFOA or PFOS, they have half-lives in the human body up to 10 years. So if you're not actively removing them, they're going to stay. They're going to circulate. They're going to accumulate. They're going to silently interfere with your system. Let's go to my favorite part. What are some of the worst offenders in Mamavation's brand testing result? Let's talk about which deodorants were found to contain PFAS, right? So Mamavation tested 25 deodorants in total, both conventional and natural, quote unquote, brands, using organic fluorine testing at an EPA certified lab. And here's how they categorize them. Not our favorites, right? So this is PFAS detected from 11 to 103 parts per million. Remember I said around 10 parts per million, that's when you're starting to pay real attention. Flags are going up. And these were deodorants that had the positive test for organic fluorine and suggested that there's PFAS contamination. So here are some of them. Little Seed Farm, their deodorant cream was 103 parts per million. It is the highest in the study, right? You go to a health food store, you see Little Seed Farm, you go, oh, great, that looks really nice and has beautiful branding and it's good. This one's kind of surprising. doTERRA natural deodorant, 41 parts per million PFAS. I wouldn't use it. This is a popular one. Dr. Teal's aluminum-free deodorant, 34 parts per million. Lume whole body deodorant, 32 parts per million. Hello Sweet coconut deodorant, 14 parts per million. Kopari beach deodorant, 18 parts per million. Secret lavender, 48-hour antiperspirant, 11 parts per million. So these are brands where they're over the 10, and I'm going to be using this every single day. I'm a little bit worried about this, okay? And even brands like Each and Every, Hey Humans, Magsol, Milk and Honey, they're marketed as clean, natural, tested positive. And this is huge because it tells us that PFAS contamination isn't just limited to those conventional drugstore brands. This is the conversation right here. Natural deodorant isn't immune from PFAS contamination, right? So I would actually say none of those are ones that I would use, especially if I'm using them every day. There's a better category in her investigation, no PFAS, but still has some ingredient issues to them outside of the PFAS. And these are the deodorants that didn't detect for PFAS, but still contain some of the ingredients that we want to stay away from, like synthetic fragrance or aluminum salts or petrol derivatives. These are the deodorants like Dove Advanced Care, Degree Motion Sense, Dr. Squatch Men's Natural, Native Coconut and Vanilla, Norwex Lyseer Prebiotic Deodorant. So these are the ones that are better, but not great, especially if you're trying to avoid those immune, fertility, and endocrine disrupting chemicals in them. So here are the best ones. PFAS-free and clean overall ingredients. These products had no detectable PFAS and clean formulations that were free of synthetic fragrance, aluminum, and phthalates. Here are the top tier deodorants based on Mamavation study. Bello Tallow Deodorant, Primally Pure Lavender, Pretty Frank Jasmine, Stink Bug, the unscented one, Truvani Organic Deodorant. So if you're looking to switch, these are solid options. I want to go over something important. How are you going to detox the body from PFAS? Here's a real evidence-based strategies. You know they stay in the body for a long time. And if you've been using one of these contaminated brands or one that wasn't in here but you're worried about, the question is, what do you do now, right? You got to reduce the body burden. It's not fast, but it's possible. It's not about like doing an armpit cleanse. It's a full body cleanse. It's about supporting your body's ability to remove those persistent chemicals. So here's what the research shows. Sweating, sauna, and exercise. Studies have shown that PFAS, particularly longer chain types, can be excreted through the sweat. So infrared therapy is going to be really important. You can do this 3 to 5 times a week, especially when it's mobilizing those fat stored compounds. It's a big benefit. You can use binders. Make sure you're having a lot of fiber in your system. You can try activated charcoal on an empty stomach, especially if you're going to the sauna. That would be helpful. Soluble fiber will help bind bile acids, and this is where fat-soluble toxins like PFAS are going to be excreted. There's also chlorella that may have some PFAS binding potential. There's limited data, may be promising. We're going to keep an eye on it. Activated charcoal can help bind PFAS, certain types, but you want to use it with care away from food so it's not depleting your nutrition. There's also hydration and liver support. The PFAS are going to be filtered through both the kidney and the liver, so you want to stay well hydrated with high quality water. You want to support your bile flow with bitters like dandelion or taurine, right? You want to make sure you're eating those bitter vegetables. That's what's going to support your bile flow. Keep the lymphatic system moving, gentle movement, dry brushing, every single day moving your body, going on that walk, reducing further exposure. You got to be good at this. This is one of the most important ones because detox only works when you're actually stopping the incoming load. Switch your deodorant, filter your water because PFAS is common in municipal sources. Do not drink tap water. Avoid the nonstick cookware. Avoid those grease-proof packaging, those fast food wrappers. Look, no one should have to research chemical testing to choose a deodorant. It's crazy, right? But this is where we are, right? And you deserve transparency. You deserve to know what's being absorbed into your skin. You deserve to have real solutions and not stay disempowered. So here are the empowered action steps. Here is my deodorant buying protocol. Boom, 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 boom. All right. We've broken down what PFAS are. We've looked at how they ended up in deodorant, how they affect your body, and what Mamavation's lab testing has uncovered. But now let us get to the part that actually changes the behavior. What are you going to do, right? How can you make sure that the product you're applying every single day under your arms is not silently undermining your health? Here is my Dr. G Heal Thyself take-home protocol for buying deodorant. As always, like all naturopathic doctors, we're going to look at the presence of health-promoting ingredients. So here's my full protocol for buying deodorant, not just rid of PFAS, right? But a nervous system safe, endocrine system safe, mitochondria safe, your whole body safe. You want to make sure it has zero detectable PFAS. We know that. Look for third-party tested brands that show no detectable levels of organic fluorine, or at the very least, brands that have responded to PFAS investigators and actually have reformulated. You already have a list from this show. If it's not tested, treat it as an unknown, right? That's what I always do. If we haven't tested, then I don't know. You want to avoid synthetic fragrance in your deodorant. The word fragrance or parfum is a label. If the word fragrance or parfum is on a label, and if it doesn't say 100% natural or fully disclosed, skip it. Okay, fragrance can contain phthalates, known hormone disruptors, solvents and preservatives, hundreds of hidden compounds, and you're applying that directly right to your lymph nodes. That matters. No aluminum salts. Those are typically found in antiperspirants, not deodorants. And while we know that the aluminum breast cancer link is controversial, right? I wouldn't say that it's causing it. I did a show on talking about aluminum and breast cancer, but there is some evidence that we should apply some caution, right? Especially near the breast tissue. So just go aluminum free. It's not a big deal, right? No propylene glycol or PEGs. These can irritate sensitive skin and act as penetration enhancers, actually. So if it is chock full of chemicals and you have this chemical in here, and it can actually help the chemicals absorb deeply into the tissues. PEGs can also be contaminated with carcinogenic byproducts like 1,4-dioxane. You don't like dioxane. Dioxane is not your friend. No parabens or BHA or BHT. These are preservatives. And parabens can mimic estrogen. These are the things that can cause hormonal dysfunction, hormonal imbalance, and possibly increase the risk of these hormonally sensitive cancers like breast cancer or prostate cancer or uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, right? And nobody here wants to trade body odor for breast cancer risk. You want to choose natural actives that actually work, right? Look for deodorants that use magnesium hydroxide. This is a natural odor neutralizer. Arrowroot or tapioca starch, this is going to help absorb moisture. Essential oils, antimicrobials or aromatics. There's something called zinc ricinoleate, and that's an odor absorber found in cleaner brands. You can do grass-fed tallow or coconut oil that's going to be supportive to the skin barrier. And bonus, look, if the product supports the skin microbiome, that's really good, right? It's going to help balance. It's not going to disrupt that sensitive skin biome. You got to know your skin. If you're sensitive to baking soda like me, I avoid it by all costs. Just do a patch test. Put a little bit on, see how it works. Some of the cleanest deodorants still rely on baking soda as their active ingredient, so just pay close attention. Check the current status of your deodorant. Go to mamavation.com. Look up your brand in the PFAS deodorant study. You have on this podcast a list already that you can go by. Remember, Bello Tallow, Pretty Frank, Primally Pure, Truvani, Stink Bug. These pass the PFAS screening and actually meet many of holistic health criteria that I just outlined too. They are going to support your body and support your body's detox. Even if you use deodorants that were on the stay away from list, or you know that they weren't the best, your body can heal. Support your detox pathways, sweat, fiber, binders, hydration, liver support. You want to move away from that exposure and spread the word. Most people have no idea what PFAS are. I know your dad doesn't. I know your mom doesn't. Probably not. Your siblings, maybe. Tell them. Tell them about deodorant. It's really easy. It's not about fear. It's about empowerment. Okay. And every time we bring awareness to what goes on in our bodies, we're going to reclaim our health. This is our agency. This is our future. This is our responsibility to bring our light out to this world so people can feel us, right? We can just change people's energy, their day, just by being us. So, I'm Dr. G, and this has been another episode of Heal Thyself. Rate, review, subscribe to support this show. Thank you so much for joining. Stay informed, stay grounded, and above all, stay aligned in your power. I will see you next time.